This is the beginning of the Holland track, close to Kalgoorlie, big mining town. Just visited the super pit, one of the biggest holes on the Earth's surface that there is. And the road ahead of me now through this amazing woodland. It has been a long time since I've done a solo trip, inspired by moments on the Canning stock. I thought I have to come and do one again. And now, having been on the road for it's my second day, I suddenly reminded myself why I enjoy traveling on my own. And that is that you have no other responsibilities apart from yourself. And it's an odd feeling sometimes. I arrived at my first campsite yesterday, just before sunset. I've come on the Holland track mainly to review the Land Cruiser after my Canning stock route expedition. So the Holland track itself is really not the main focus of this trip. It's a few weeks since I got back from the Canning stock route. Max table. However, I can't let this opportunity go by. Most definitely the place to turn off, leaving the main track now and heading on the Holland's route. I actually met somebody. They were a group of people camped next to the road, a couple of kilometers up there, and they said that they were on the Holland track 5 days ago and it was very wet, and they actually bailed out because it was too difficult. Very slow going. There is water, quite a bit of water on the track. And the research I've done indicates that this is probably going to take me between 2 and 3 days. I'm so enjoying this morning's drive. It's a bit technical and it's not relaxing in the slightest. It's a very narrow track. Bush is becoming thicker. And I've got to look out for overhead logs and things, and it really is quite, at times, very narrow. Right, I've set up camp. We've passed Victoria Rock, and we're basically in the Goldfields Woodlands National Park, and we've taken the road from Kalgoorlie south to Coolgardie and now heading southwest and at the edge of the Woodlands National Park. The drive today, wow, these woodlands are magnificent. I decided not to camp at Victoria Rock. There is a campsite there with long drop toilets and other facilities. But I decided that I actually want to do because it's not really in the most beautiful part of the woodlands. This campsite is. It's not a campsite. I found this little track winding its way through the trees and just took it, and here I am, all on my Todd. So as the sun's setting amongst the trees, bit of a wind tonight, hope it dies down, and making myself something. Got myself a pre-made pasta dish from Woolworths. And I was thinking now, I'm very grateful to my wife Gwen that lets me come out and just take a trip. Not once has she ever said, well, why are you doing that? You know, you don't need to. Well, never the slightest thing. She has supported me in everything I've done throughout our married life. And in fact, yesterday was our 27th wedding anniversary. So, I raise my glass to you. Gwenny? Well, good morning. I woken up this morning and it's miserable. It's cold, it's windy, and what's worrying me more than anything else, this layer of cloud is quite low, which means it could rain. And I'm on my own. And I've watched videos on the Holland track, and when it gets wet, this clay gets slippery, and I know what happens when clay gets slippery. And there are dongas and holes and things, and I'm a little bit worried about tackling this route on my own if it rains. If it rains heavily, I will be sliding all over the place. I left Kalgoorlie at about 11 yesterday-ish, and when I hit this road towards Victoria Rock, saw no traffic at all, no oncoming traffic, no traffic passed on the road since nothing. The whole half a day, not another motor vehicle. And I'm surprised because that is a very well kept and well maintained gravel road. Nothing, nobody. There's a good chance that there is nobody else, middle of the week, doing the Holland track. Which is, I suppose, in the way good, because I wanted to be alone. But at the same time, if it rains and I get into trouble, it's going to be a long wait. This Land Cruiser is equipped with automatic front freewheel hubs. And a lot of people don't actually understand how they work. And I think make the mistake of just leaving them in auto because they seem to work fine in auto. And they kind of do, but there's a disadvantage in leaving them in auto when in four-wheel drive country. So I'm now going to lock it now. The locking system is basically a wheel spanner, same size as the wheel nut. I actually keep this small one in my cab just behind the driver's seat so I can grab it to lock it without having to rummage through tools. The trouble is with the auto hubs is that the way they work is there's a spline system, and when in auto they kind of sit like this, and when the drive dictates they will lock, and when you put it in your vehicle in reverse they unlock and engage again. So if you can imagine, if you were in very grinding hard, four-wheel drive territory and you were going forward reverse, there's a lot of work being done there. And the other significant thing is that there's a set of splines, and the splines are kind of that long, right? But the auto only uses a portion of them. When engaging it manually, it does this, boom. It locks all of the splines. You've got all of the strength of the hub as if it was solid. No freewheeling hub at all. So for strength, lock it manually. The other significant advantage of locking those manually is that I can select four-wheel drive back to two-wheel drive in the cab virtually at any speed. So if I'm on a gravel road and it starts to get a little bit iffy, I just push the lever, it goes into four-wheel drive. Because this is in manual, all of the bits are rotating. So the gearbox just meshes and it will go into four-wheel drive. Otherwise, if this is in auto and I want to go in four-wheel drive, I must stop the car dead. Only then will I be able to put it in four-wheel drive without damaging the transmission. And if you forget, and I've done it, if you forget to put it in manual and you leave it in auto and you put it in four-wheel drive while the vehicle is moving, very horrible loud noises are emitted from the gearbox. You will only do it once. I've only done it about 3 times. I've had such a nice morning drive, really, really wonderful. The bush has become really thick in places, very running alongside the side of the vehicle, very close, and twisty-turny through the trees and our big open area. And this is typical of the life-giving water in this area. So I've read these rocky outcrops where the water sits and the birds and animals can rely on water for even during quite dry periods of the year. And I chatted to some people and they said that the road is rough ahead, but didn't think I would have any problems. Did report somebody had 4 punctures, one person with 4 punctures. That means it was just tyres that weren't good enough for the track. But yeah, loving it. My biggest danger out here, really, is finding somebody coming in the opposite direction, because the track is so narrow, sometimes you cannot see more than approximately 1 vehicle length in front of you. So on these very, very tight sections, I've got to be extremely careful. It's been a strenuous drive today. I'm actually quite bushed. I've enjoyed it enormously, but it's been concentrated driving. You cannot take your eye off the track for an instant. If you do, you'll have a hole through your tyre, or you'll hit a tree. But it's been a really, really nice day. It is 4 o'clock, perfect time to set up camp. Well, a beautiful morning. The Holland track is really an ideal weekend bush track for people living in the Perth area, isn't it? Because you can get to the northern end of the trail or the southern end of the trail within an easy, 6 or so hours drive from Perth. And at 2 nights it's ideal on the track. It's challenging. If it was wet, I think it would be very challenging. If you're pulling a trailer, it would be a trailer in the wet, and it would be extremely challenging. Perhaps even impossible. I've enjoyed the quietness and the bush, and it's not desert, so it's not that kind of, but there is a very strong sense of isolation, which is really what I've absolutely loved about it. Well, that's what I like to see. That's my kind of trail. Check it out. The road as far as the eye can see. I prefer big, wide open spaces to bush trails, you know. I just get a sense of freedom when I'm on a trail that is just going on forever, that there's no limit to it. Yeah, this is the best part of the trail so far. It's the first time I've been able to see the horizon in about feels like a week. It's actually only 2 days. A couple of hours later that morning, I've had to stop. Something's wrong with the truck. The noise is extremely loud. I've stopped because there is an extremely loud noise coming from the undercarriage. It's a whistling sound, and it only happens when the vehicle is rolling, so it's either something in the axles, something in the brakes, something in the drivetrain, and I think it's coming from the front. It's making a very, very loud squeaking noise. Shut up. I can't see anything. I can see absolutely nothing. You know, if you've got a piece of wire caught under the vehicle and it's going as the components are rotating, that's what it sounds like. But I can't see anything wrong with the drivetrain. I've got to find out what it is. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put it on a straight road, a flat bit, so I can walk next to the car, assuming it'll make the noise. Can you hear it? And at least I can then walk around the car as it's driving. It's a little bit of a flat bit here. Something in the front. It's on the front on the left. But nothing wrong. Okay, try it again. I cannot tell if it's the left or right. It actually sounds center. If I stood here while I was standing in the middle of the vehicle having it come towards me, it sounded like it was coming from the center, which means it's prop shaft, but there's nothing wrong with the prop shaft. It sounds like some metal wire has wrapped itself around the prop shaft. But I can't see anything like that. Absolute mystery. I'll continue not knowing what's going on. If there's any give on the bearings, you feel it doing this. You feel it. You'll actually feel it through the tire. The thing is that if it was brakes, it would change, wouldn't it? If I apply brakes, it would change. But interestingly, there's no noise in reverse. No, I'm wrong, there is noise in reverse. Alright, 10 minutes later, I went to change the GoPro batteries, and I heard a donk, and the sound stopped. Suddenly, donk, made a very distinct sound, as if a piece of... And I think the sound's gone. But my worry is, I mean, I still don't know what it was. No sound, it's gone. I'm going to drive a bit further and see what happens. And if it doesn't stop by camp tonight, I shall remove the front wheels and check the wheel bearings. Lunch time. Thankfully, the noise has stopped completely. So, which means I can only assume it was something caught in on the wheel rim, and it was rubbing against, or caught on the axle and rubbing against the wheel as the wheel was rotating, something like that. Couldn't see anything. Took a torch, looked inside the wheel rim, could see absolutely nothing. But it's gone. It's gone completely. The sound. There is no more sound at all. And for that I am grateful, and so I've stopped under some trees and having bread rolls, still feel fresh, cold meat, cheese, mayonnaise. Right, how do I open this thing? Here's deja vu for you. So I've made this temporary bit of shelter, shade, because there's the sun is directly overhead, so there's very little shade, but there is lunch. Now, who can I ask how to open this cheese thing? I know, I'll write to them. How do you open these cheese thingy-wotsits? When I was in Arizona last year, a family from Texas came up to me, and there was a little girl. She was probably 7. And her father came up, said hello to me, and her father said, "Go on, say it." I looked down at this little thing, and she was terribly shy. He said, "Go on, say it." And she looked up at me and said, "Cheesy thingy what's-it." Cheese thingy what's-it. And averted her gaze. And I looked at the father and said, "What's?" He said, "Cheesy thingy what's-it. You were in the Kalahari, and you couldn't open that container of cheese, and you called it the cheesy thingy what's-it." Oh, that's just very nice that you remembered that. And he said, "Well, it's become a phrase in our household. If we can't think of what it's called, you say, 'Pass me the,' you know. They've now turned the what to cheesy thingy what's-it. So, pass me the cheesy thingy what's-it." He said, so much so that in fact, even if you do know what it is, you say, "Pass me the cheesy thingy what's-it," and it's now it's very sweet. Very sweet indeed. So from Western Australia, you family there, good on you. In Texas, howdy. They're big fans of the show, so they'll definitely see this. This isn't a cheesy thingy what's-it. This is a Danish mild salami thingy what's-it. That the squeak disappeared completely, no sign of it at all for the rest of the day, so I'm confident that what it was a stick or something got trapped in the wheel somewhere around the rim brake area and was scraping against the the wheel rim and just reverberating around the whole front of the car. So I'm absolutely convinced that there's nothing wrong with the truck at all. Stove I use is a Cook partner, and I bought it in the States. I absolutely love it. It's very, very basic. It doesn't even have a click lighter, but it is very robust and it's nicely made, and it's just fantastic. And there's no reason to like it apart from that it's just plain impractical, and I could probably drop it off a bridge and it would survive. So I need some other things to cook with. Okay, here, 2 times massive sidewall punctures on the left hand side. Both spares suffered same later. That's bad luck. That is really bad luck. And yeah, and those are road tires. They're completely unsuitable, and I'm not surprised they're broken. 2012, when I took my Discovery 4 on the trip through Lesotho, the Baboons Pass, I asked if I could fit BF Goodrich tyres to the vehicle, and Land Rover said no. They're not an approved tyre, and they gave me a list, and they said, you may choose, we're happy to upgrade the tyres for you, you may choose. And I chose a General Grabber that had quite a good reputation. And I pumped them up extremely hard. I normally would not have, but because of the low sidewall, it had 18-inch rims. Because of the sidewall, I decided to make them very hard to protect them. There's an argument both ways. Some may say that didn't protect them, but whatever. I really didn't want to have tyre problems. It wasn't a test of the tyres, it was a test of the vehicle. And I remember about 6 weeks, 8 weeks after the Baboons trip, I nicked a curb in the vehicle. I just nicked it, just in traffic, and I just ripped the sidewall clean off. And it's the trouble with any low profile tyre wheel combination. They are not suited at all. And really the biggest 17-inch, anything bigger than that and you're asking for an unreliable. And we all know that the most common problem one has on an expedition, most likely cause of problems, are tyres. Firstly, because bad tyre choice, a tyre not suitable for the job, and B, running them at pressures that are not suitable for the conditions.